Okay, so a brief introduction to the history of Asian Americans in United States. So first, as we talked about before, there was earlier exploration of the West Coast, but no significant colonies were developed. It really wasn't until the 1840s where large groups of men from Asia were brought into the West Coast to work in the gold mines or to help build a transcontinental railroad from New York to California. So a stagecoach travel from the East Coast to the West Coast could take 11 months to travel across America. So as the gold rush is going on, they decide they will build a railroad across the country, shortening the trip from 11 months to 11 days. And that finally happens. And from here, we see a huge migration of people from the East Coast to the West Coast. So those early Chinese and Japanese laborers in the gold mines and on the railroads, they stayed. They stayed here on the West Coast, had families. So they have been here for many generations. Unfortunate part of history during World War II, the Japanese Americans who had been here for generations were rounded up, taken out of their homes, told to pack one suitcase, and shipped off to uh, camps where they stayed for the duration of the war. So some of the history of Asian Americans has some major turning points. Most of those Chinese, especially, stayed in the San Francisco and Los Angeles area, creating their own communities, eventually saving their money, buying land in the outskirts of the city, farmland, and they produced a fruit that is very common. We can find it in every American supermarket called the Bing cherry. And those farms are still active today. And coming up, we're going to be talking about a uh, generation after generation of Japanese flower growers in California and a fun little story about growing flowers. Okay, so that's a real quick introduction to the Asian American history in the United States. Okay, so our next slide, we're going to introduce the Fung Brothers, two boys that grew up in Northwest left coast. Their parents, their father was an engineer for a Boeing aircraft. I believe his father and his mother met going to college in USA. They moved to a small town nearby Boeing company. They were the only Asians in this small community. So they grew up in a typical first generation immigrant condition. They have created many videos on YouTube, basically talking to their Asian American community, but also educating non-Asians about Asian things, Asian culture, Asian ways of doing things. And they do it with a large sense of humor. They're not complaining, they're actually educating others as to the Asian American experience. So they go to high school, graduate. They talk a little bit about that experience. They do go to college. They graduate from college. They move to California. And their main focus of their videos is a lot about food and Asian parents and their ways of bringing up children. Okay, so this is from an article called Asian American Hipster Rhetoric, the Digital Media Rhetoric of the Fung Brothers by Kent Ono and Allison E. Chung, the University of Utah. It was published about 2 years ago. And they say, in their most popular music video, Asians Eat Weird Things, featuring A.J. Raphael. A.J. Raphael is from the Philippines, Philippine heritage, in his own little circle, very famous, sort of rapish type of music. This video has been viewed 2.4 million times on YouTube. David and Andrew, the two Fung brothers, introduce a variety of Asian ethnic foods, such as durian, a fruit known for its pungent smell, chicken feet, tripe, and other foods that are considered exotic. David raps about his cultural experience. From the song, he says, "She said, I liked the weird stuff growing up, but stopped in high school. It wasn't cool enough. 'Cause you can't serve blood cubes at prom, and stinky tofu just sounds wrong. Stop pretending you don't like fermented. I admit the smell can be offensive, but it tastes so good that you won't need another man. Let the flavors take you back to the motherland." While recognizing that these foods are unfamiliar or weird in the United States, the Fung Brothers demonstrate in the music video how enjoyable they are and how many people like them. The video suggests that viewers should accept and enjoy these weird foods by showing a predominantly Asian American crowd enjoying various ethnic foods at a pool party. The Fung Brothers state in the chorus, "We got different social norms than you. Can't change my culture. That's just how we do. She told me it looks crazy. I said, it's okay, I'm Asian." Not only do the Fung Brothers refer specifically to Asians and Asian Americans by discussing familiar Asian foods, but they also address non-Asian Asian Americans by introducing ethnic foods to those unfamiliar with them. Just as hipsters have been known to reintroduce trends from earlier times and make them popular, in this video, as well as others, the Fung Brothers produce an Asian American hipster rhetoric that introduces or reintroduces traditional Asian foods and attempts them to make them hip or cool. Okay, so a little bit about the song itself. We'll go through the lyrics, but I highly suggest you listen to the video. It'll do much better justice to it. Okay, so the song starts out. So I told her, like, ooh, baby, I know that it looks crazy, but actually it's tasty. I'm talking about food. Me and my friends eat weird things unlike you. Part of my culture, it's just how we do. I know that it sounds crazy, but it's okay. I'm Asian. I'm like, girl, what you eating for today? Put that bread down. Let's go and run away. 'Cause I'm Asian. I don't know if you can tell. I ate a few things Applebee's doesn't sell. So Applebee's is a reference to a chain restaurant of predominantly American food, hamburgers, that sort of thing. Ever had dim sum in the morning light? I know this chicken feet ain't looking very nice, but if you taste it, I know you'll really like. Eat the skin, but leave the bones, all right? Look at me eating tripe now. Look at you, this is life now. It's fresh, more organic than fast food. You could say it looks a lot more natural. No, this egg isn't 100 years old, and this cabbage ain't got no mold. He's referring to a Korean dish called kimchi. And I was hoping she would have a taste. She took one bite and made a face. So I'm talking like, ooh, baby, you're so amazed by everything that I eat. And I told her, like, ooh, baby, I know that it looks crazy, but at least I know it's tasty. I'm talking about food. We've got different social norms than you. Part of my culture, that's just how we do. She said, I don't like this platter. I'd probably win Fear Factor. Yeah, I said, girl, what you eat during weekdays? She said salad and pasta each day. What about Asian food? Because you never get the chance because you never date Asian dudes. She said, I liked the weird stuff growing up, but stopped in high school. It wasn't cool enough because you can't serve blood cubes at prom, and stinky tofu just sounds wrong. Stop pretending you don't like it fermented. I admit the smell can be offensive, but it tastes so good that you won't need another man. Let the flavors take you back to the motherland. So I can take you back to my mother, and she can teach you how to cook without butter. And what do you mean I'm being patriarchal? I mean I can cook. So I told her, like, ooh, baby, you'll be amazed by everything that I eat. And the song goes on, and I would suggest take a look at the video. The song goes on to list several popular cities in Asia, and it goes on to saying basically, we've got social norms different than you. I can't change my culture. That's just what we do. So the Fung Brothers kind of have fun talking about their culture. They're not all bent out of shape. They had a pretty good experience growing up, being Asian Americans, and their videos are really funny. So take a look at the video. We Eat Weird Things by the Fung Brothers.